The fluorescent lights of room 304 cast harsh shadows across my mother's face as she leaned over my hospital bed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sarah, please, you can't tell them what really happened. Think about our family." I shifted slightly, wincing as pain shot through my ribs. The morphine was wearing off, and with it the comfortable haze that had kept reality at bay. The security camera in the corner of the room blinked its steady red light, recording every word, every gesture. "Mom," I managed, my throat still raw from screaming. "I can't keep lying." She gripped my hand too tightly, her wedding ring digging into my skin. "It was an accident, that's all. Your father, he didn't mean to push you down the stairs. You know how he gets when he's stressed about work." The accident had left me with 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and enough bruises to make the ER nurses exchange knowing looks. This wasn't the first time I'd been in this hospital, but at 17 I was finally old enough to understand it would be the last. "Mrs. Davidson," a nurse appeared in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. "The police would like to speak with you about the incident report." My mother straightened, smoothing her perfectly pressed slacks. "Of course, just a fall. Teenagers, you know how clumsy they can be." She gave me a pointed look. "Right, Sarah." I said nothing, watching as she followed the nurse out. Through the window of my room, I could see the security monitor at the nurse's station. The screen showed the emergency entrance footage from 3 hours ago, my father half carrying, half dragging me through the doors, my mother following with a rehearsed story about a fall. What they didn't know was that the cameras had caught everything. The argument in the parking lot, my father's rage when I threatened to tell my guidance counselor about the accidents. The moment he grabbed my arm and threw me against the car. Dr. Chen, the ER physician who had treated me twice before, entered the room with a tablet in her hands. "How's the pain, Sarah?" "Manageable," I lied. She checked my vitals, her movements efficient but gentle. "The police detective will be here soon. And this time we have something your parents don't know about." I glanced at the security camera. "Not just that," she said quietly. "Though the parking lot footage is damning enough. No, this time we have 3 years of documented injuries. Patterns that no accidental falls could explain." And she paused, making sure she had my full attention. "We have your x-rays. Old fractures telling a story your parents can't explain away." "My mother will try," I said bitterly. "She always does." "Not this time." Dr. Chen's voice was firm. "Sarah, do you know why I requested to be your attending physician every time you came in?" I shook my head. "Because 17 years ago, I was you. Different hospital, different family, same stories about being clumsy." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing an old scar. "Until one doctor decided to look closer. To document everything, to build a case that couldn't be dismissed." A commotion in the hallway drew our attention. My father's voice, loud and demanding. "Where is she?" "That's my daughter in there." Dr. Chen pressed a button on her tablet, and the security doors at both ends of the hall clicked shut. "They can't get in without staff authorization." "And look," she pointed to the monitor. 2 police officers had arrived, intercepting my parents before they could reach my room. My father's face was turning red, the same shade it had been before he pushed me. "I have something to show you," Dr. Chen said, pulling up files on her tablet. "Every time you came in, I took detailed photos, documented the injuries, mapped them against your mother's explanations." She swiped through image after image. "A fall doesn't cause handprint bruises. Tripping over a rug doesn't result in defensive wounds." Tears blurred my vision as years of accidents scrolled past. "The detective here specializes in domestic violence cases," she continued. "She's been building this file for months, ever since your last visit. The security footage from today, that was just the final piece we needed." My mother's voice drifted through the door. "You don't understand. She's confused. She falls a lot. We're good parents." Dr. Chen squeezed my hand. "You don't have to say anything right now. The evidence will speak for you." Through the window, I watched as Detective Lisa Martinez approached, her badge catching the fluorescent light. My father was still arguing, my mother still making excuses, but their voices faded as the detective got closer. "Sarah," Dr. Chen said softly, "you're not alone anymore, and you never have to go back." The detective knocked on the door. 3 sharp raps that seemed to echo through the room. Through my tears, I could see my parents being led away by the officers. My father's face now purple with rage, my mother still pleading. Ready? Dr. Chen asked. I looked at the security camera, its red light still blinking steadily. Proof. Evidence. Truth. Yes, I said, and for the first time in years, my voice didn't shake. I'm ready to tell them everything. Detective Martinez entered, notepad in hand. Behind her through the window, I could see my parents being read their rights. My father's mask of concern had cracked, revealing the fury beneath. My mother had collapsed into a chair, still calling out excuses no one believed anymore. Take your time, the detective said, sitting beside my bed. Start wherever you want. We have all the evidence we need. The cameras caught everything. This is just for you to tell your story in your own words. I took a deep breath, ignoring the pain in my ribs. Dr. Chen stood on my other side, her presence steady and reassuring. On the monitor, the security footage played in a loop, silent testimony to years of lies finally exposed. It started, I began, when I was 12. The first time wasn't an accident, no matter what they told the doctors. The red light kept blinking, recording this moment too, the moment when lies crumbled, when excuses failed, when security cameras and medical records spoke louder than any desperate plea to keep it in the family. Sometimes I realized, the best witnesses are the silent ones. The cameras that catch what no one was meant to see. The X-rays that tell stories bones were forced to keep. The medical records that build a case, visit by visit, injury by injury. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let the truth speak for itself. Detective Martinez's notepad filled with 5 years of carefully hidden truths as I spoke. Dr. Chen remained by my side, occasionally adding medical context to my testimony. The security footage continued its silent loop on the monitor, a constant reminder that this time, there would be no explaining away what happened. The stairs incident last month, Detective Martinez prompted gently. Can you tell me about that? I closed my eyes, the memory still fresh. I'd gotten an acceptance letter from Columbia University, full scholarship. When I showed it to them, take your time, Dr. Chen said softly. Dad said I wasn't going. That college would put ideas in my head. When I argued, he grabbed my backpack and threw it down the stairs. I tried to get past him to retrieve it, and my voice faltered. The medical report shows 3 cracked ribs and a concussion. Dr. Chen supplied, pulling up the records on her tablet. Your mother reported it as a fall while carrying laundry, Detective Martinez noted, checking her files. She always had explanations ready, I said. Sports accidents, clumsiness, anything but the truth. A knock at the door made me flinch. A young officer entered, holding an evidence bag. We found these in Mr. Davidson's car, he said, placing the bag on the table. Inside were my college acceptance letters, not just from Columbia, but from 5 other universities, all torn to pieces. He found my hiding place, I whispered. That's what started today's incident. Detective Martinez made another note. The security cameras caught him confronting you in the parking lot about some papers. Is that what those were? I nodded. On the monitor, the footage showed my father waving torn papers in my face, his fury evident even without sound. Then the shove, my head hitting the car door, the moment when everything changed. Sarah, Dr. Chen said, there's something else you should know. When we did your X-rays today, we found evidence of older injuries. Injuries that match the time frame of your previous accidents. She pulled up a comprehensive skeletal scan on her tablet. Different areas were highlighted in various colors, each representing a different incident. The green marks show today's injuries, she explained. Yellow is from last month's fall. Red indicates older trauma that was never properly reported. Detective Martinez leaned forward. Those records, combined with the security footage and your statement, are enough for a solid case. But there's more. She opened her briefcase and removed a thick file. Your guidance counselor, Mrs. Reynolds, has been documenting her concerns for the past year. Photographs of bruises you couldn't explain. Notes about your changing behavior. She was building her own case. She knew. She suspected. But without proof, without your testimony, The detective spread out several photographs on my bed. Each showed a different injury, carefully dated and documented by Mrs. Reynolds. 2 weeks ago, Detective Martinez continued, she contacted our department. That's when we started monitoring the hospital's security feeds more closely. We knew it was only a matter of time. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, I could see my Aunt Karen arriving, her face stricken. Unlike my mother, Aunt Karen had always looked at me too closely, asked too many questions about my accidents. She's here as your temporary guardian, Detective Martinez explained. Once you're released, you'll be staying with her. But my mother is being charged as an accessory, the detective finished firmly. The security cameras caught more than just your father's actions. They recorded years of your mother actively covering up abuse. The nurse's station has dozens of recordings of her coaching you on what to say to doctors. Dr. Chen touched my arm gently. Speaking of which, there's someone else here to see you. The door opened again, and Nurse Jackson, who had treated me during 3 previous accidents, entered. She carried a small USB drive. I kept copies, she said simply. Every time you came in, every story your mother told, every inconsistency we noticed, I knew someday you'd need them. The reality of it all hit me suddenly. How many people had been watching, documenting, waiting for the moment when I'd finally be ready to speak? How many silent witnesses had been gathering evidence while I thought I was alone? There's one more thing, Detective Martinez said, pulling out her phone. We've just received a warrant to search your house. Is there anything specific we should look for? I thought of my hidden diary, tucked behind the loose panel in my closet. The photos I'd taken of my injuries, stored on a password-protected cloud account. The voice recordings I'd made after each accident, speaking the truth I couldn't tell anyone. My blue journal, I said, behind the wall panel in my closet. And check my laptop, the folder marked school projects has everything. Dr. Chen smiled. You were building your own case all along. I never thought anyone would believe me over them. The cameras believe you, Detective Martinez said firmly. The X-rays believe you. Every medical record, every documented injury, every inconsistent explanation, they all tell the same story. Your story. On the monitor, the security footage had reached the moment when my father finally crossed the line in public. The moment when years of hidden violence became undeniable evidence. What happens now? I asked. Now, Detective Martinez said, gathering her notes. We make sure they can never hurt you again. Your father will be charged with aggravated assault, child abuse, and witness intimidation. Your mother faces charges of accessory after the fact, and child endangerment. And Columbia, I couldn't keep the hope from my voice. Will be getting a call from me personally, Aunt Karen said from the doorway. You're going to college, Sarah. No one's stopping you this time. Dr. Chen showed me one final image on her tablet. My latest X-rays overlaid with the documented history of injuries. This is the last time, she said softly. The last time you'll have to heal from their actions. The security camera's red light continued its steady blink, recording this moment too. The moment when a lifetime of secrets and lies finally ended, captured by the unblinking eyes of hospital security. Sometimes I realized, freedom comes not from speaking up, but from having silent witnesses who've been recording the truth all along. 3 weeks later, I sat in the courthouse waiting room, my hands smoothing the navy blue blazer Aunt Karen had bought me for the hearing. The preliminary evidence against my parents was being presented today, and the security camera footage would be the centerpiece. Ready, Doctor? Chen asked, taking the seat beside me. She'd become more than just my physician over the past weeks. She was here as an expert witness, but also as support. I think so, I managed. Through the window I could see reporters gathering. My case had attracted attention when the full scope of documented abuse came to light. Mrs. Reynolds, my guidance counselor, approached with a thick manila envelope. The school board reviewed all the evidence, she said. They're implementing new training protocols for identifying and reporting abuse. Your case is changing things, Sarah. Inside the envelope were copies of my torn college acceptance letters, now carefully pieced back together. Columbia confirmed your scholarship, Mrs. Reynolds added. They're holding your spot for next fall. Detective Martinez joined us, her case files organized and ready. The security footage has been enhanced, she said. Audio recovered from 3 separate cameras. Your father's threats are clearly audible. My hands trembled slightly as I recalled his words in the parking lot. You think you're smart enough for college, you're nothing without this family. Nothing. The bailiff appeared at the door. They're ready. The courtroom was packed. My parents sat at the defense table. My father in a suit that couldn't hide his rage. My mother in conservative beige, still playing the role of concerned parent. Their lawyers looked grim, having already seen the mountain of evidence against them. As I took my seat in the witness area, the prosecutor began setting up the video evidence. Multiple screens showed different angles of the hospital parking lot, the emergency entrance, the corridors. Years of documented visits, each with its own security footage. The state presents evidence item 47A. The prosecutor announced. Hospital security footage from May 15, showing the defendant physically assaulting his daughter. The footage played in high definition. Every push, every threat, every moment of violence crystal clear. The audio captured my father's rage, my mother's attempts to create a cover story, the medical staff's immediate recognition of abuse. But it wasn't just that day's footage. The prosecutor had compiled a timeline. February 12, patient arrives with broken wrist. Security footage shows mother coaching daughter on sports injury story. March 30th, multiple contusions, parking lot cameras capture father's aggressive behavior. April 22nd, concussion and ribs. Emergency room footage contradicts parents' account of a fall. Each incident was accompanied by clear video evidence, medical records and witness statements. The defense lawyers shifted uncomfortably as the pattern became undeniable. Dr. Chen took the stand first, presenting my complete medical history. The injury patterns are consistent with prolonged physical abuse, she testified. The X-rays tell a story of escalating violence. She showed the court my skeletal mapping, each injury coded and dated. In my professional opinion, she concluded, these injuries could not have occurred accidentally as reported. Nurse Jackson testified next, presenting her personal records of inconsistencies. The mother's explanations became more elaborate over time, she noted. But the security cameras showed a different story. When it was my turn to testify, I felt stronger than I expected. The evidence had already spoken for me. I just needed to confirm what the cameras had captured. Yes, I said clearly, that's my father throwing me against the car. Yes, those are my mother's words, telling me to lie to the doctors. The defense tried to paint me as a rebellious teenager, making up stories for attention, but they couldn't explain away the footage, the medical records, the years of documented evidence. My mother broke down during cross-examination. I was trying to protect our family, she cried. I didn't know what else to do. Protect the family, the prosecutor repeated, or protect the abuser. The security footage played again, showing my mother crafting lies while I lay injured. Her own words condemned her. Remember the story, Sarah, you fell, just stick to that. My father maintained his composure, until they played the enhanced audio from the parking lot. His threats, his rage, his absolute control, all captured by multiple cameras. His facade cracked when they showed him destroying my college acceptance letters. The defendant's actions show a clear pattern, the prosecutor summarized. Not just of physical abuse, but of systematic control and educational sabotage. Aunt Karen squeezed my hand as the judge reviewed the evidence. The security cameras had captured one final scene, me, walking out of the hospital, with my head held high, surrounded by people who had been gathering evidence, and waiting for the right moment to help. The judge's decision was clear. My father would be held without bail pending trial. My mother, despite her tearful protests, was barred from contact. The evidence is overwhelming, the judge stated. This court has rarely seen such comprehensive documentation of ongoing abuse. Outside the courthouse, Detective Martinez handed me a copy of the complete case file. Keep this, she said. Whenever you doubt yourself, remember the cameras saw everything. The truth was always there, waiting to be revealed. Mrs. Reynolds showed me a letter from the school board. They were naming their new abuse prevention program after me. Your courage, she said, will help other students find their voice. Dr. Chen hugged me goodbye. Remember what I told you, 17 years ago. I was you. Now look where you are, headed to Columbia, breaking the cycle. As we left the courthouse, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I stood straighter now. The weight of secrets finally lifted. The security cameras had given me something invaluable. Irrefutable proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't clumsy, wasn't lying. Sometimes I realized, the truth doesn't need words to be heard. Sometimes it just needs to be seen. 1 year later, Columbia University, I stood at the podium in the campus auditorium, facing a room full of medical students, law enforcement officers, and social workers. The presentation screen behind me showed a familiar image, the hospital security camera footage that had changed everything. Evidence doesn't always speak, I began. Sometimes it watches, silently gathering truth until the right moment arrives. In the front row, Dr. Chen nodded encouragingly. She'd flown in for my guest lecture on digital documentation in domestic violence cases. Beside her sat Detective Martinez, who now used my case to train new officers. My story isn't unique, I continued, advancing to the next slide, a collection of statistics. What makes it different is the documentation. Every hospital visit, every injury, every lie, all captured by security cameras that never blinked, never looked away, never accepted the convenient explanation. The conviction rates appeared on screen. My father 15 years for aggravated child abuse and assault. My mother 8 years for criminal negligence and conspiracy. The sentences had been handed down 6 months ago. But this isn't just about punishment, I explained. It's about prevention. I showed them the new protocols implemented at my old hospital. Enhanced security coverage, automatic archiving of footage involving suspected abuse cases, improved coordination between medical staff and law enforcement. 27 cases, I revealed. That's how many similar situations have been identified and addressed in the past year, using these protocols. 27 families, where silent cameras spoke up when victims couldn't. Aunt Karen, now my legal guardian and strongest supporter, watched from the side of the stage. Thanks to her, I'd not only made it to Columbia, but was thriving there, double majoring in pre-law and social work. The technology was always there, I said, showing split-screen footage from my case. The cameras were always watching. What changed was how we used them, how we learned to let evidence tell stories that voices couldn't. Mrs. Reynolds had implemented similar programs in schools nationwide. Every security camera now had a dual purpose, protection and documentation. Every unexplained injury had a digital trail. My father told me I was nothing without family, I continued. He was right, but not in the way he meant. I found my real family in the people who watched, documented and waited, nurses who kept records, doctors who mapped injuries, counselors who noticed patterns, and detectives who knew how to make silent footage speak. The final slide showed my dorm room at Columbia, my safe space, my new beginning. Next to it, the acceptance letter my father had tried to destroy. Today, I'm not here to tell you about abuse, I concluded. I'm here to tell you about evidence, about how security cameras become witnesses, about how digital documentation can give voice to those forced to be silent. The audience rose in a standing ovation, but I wasn't finished. Next month, I'm testifying before Congress about mandatory security protocols in medical facilities. The bill is called the Silent Witness Act, because sometimes the most powerful testimony comes from an unblinking eye in the corner of a room. After the lecture, Dr. Chen hugged me. From patient to advocate, she said proudly. You've come so far. Detective Martinez showed me updates on her phone. 3 more cases where security footage had provided crucial evidence. Your story taught us what to look for, she explained. Aunt Karen handed me a letter that had arrived that morning. The hospital where everything had happened was naming their new security monitoring center after me, for teaching us that cameras don't just record incidents. The letter read, they prevent them. As I packed up my presentation materials, a young resident approached. I had a case last week, she said quietly. Something felt wrong about the parents' story. I remembered your protocols and checked the security feeds. You saved that kid, you know. Your story saved them. Walking back to my dorm through Columbia's campus, I passed several security cameras. Once they had made me nervous. Now they reminded me that truth has many witnesses, and some of them never sleep. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Reynolds. Another school district had adopted her prevention program. Another set of eyes watching out for kids who couldn't speak up. Sometimes freedom comes with flashing lights and dramatic rescues. Sometimes it comes with a quiet blink of a red light in the corner, recording truth one frame at a time. And sometimes, healing starts when you realize that even in your darkest moments, you were never really alone. The cameras saw everything, and finally so did everyone else. The end.